Support's role in Overwatch 2 has definitely been undervalued by almost everyone throughout the spectrum due to their inability to carry, right? So they lack carry potential. However, that is not very true. It is the most crucial role for winning a game. So in today's video, we're going to be going into detail for every single support hero. So there's 8 of them, and we're going to be talking about what makes them special, how their kit is used, and I'm going to be giving them a rating being from 1 star all the way to 5 stars based on their survivability, their support capability, meaning healing, and last but not least, their damage output. Yes, damage does matter on support if you want to carry. So as always, before we continue on in this video, once again, if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you guys do smash that subscribe button. I have been dishing out daily Overwatch guides for you guys, and let's continue on with the video. We're going to be starting off with the one and only, the main support of the evening, Mercy. Right? Mercy is probably the most loved support to have, especially if you are a DPS main, just because of her pocket potential, right? Mercy is mostly known for her pocket heals, so that being, for example, a pocketed Ashe that's popping off, a pocketed Sojourn, for example, or Widow, any mid to long range DPS that is squishy from far, that can take damage but is able to carry, a Mercy should definitely pocket them, and that is the best Mercy to have. Now Mercy's kit, what makes her kind of special, and the reason I'm going to be giving her a very good rating, is that her ability to basically level out the playing field, right? For instance, you have a Mercy that is pocketing you and your tank is taking damage. Her ability to switch to that tank, right, fly towards him. Once again, I can do a whole guide on movement for Mercy because it is very tricky. A lot of people don't really know how to use her properly, and then dive right back on the DPS is basically the best way to go, right? So her ability to traverse the playing field, jump on a tank, jump back on the DPS, she can be almost impossible to hit, right? So a good Mercy player knows how to traverse the battlefield very well, and for that reason, her survivability as a support is definitely a 5 out of 5, right? Moving on to her damage, you guys guessed it, 0 out of 5, right? I mean, if you're switching to that pistol to do damage, you're pretty much gonna die anyway, so you're just doing it as a tactic, as a last effort pretty much. So she does not really have a lot of damage. I mean, if I'm being nice, I would probably give her a 2 out of 5, but you guys get the point here. And then last but not least, her support capability / healing, I would do 4 out of 5. The reason I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5 is just because sometimes you do want to heal all your teammates at once, and Mercy can struggle with that a bit if she is very tunnel visioned on the pocketing aspect of her role. So definitely keep a lookout on that. Next up, we have Lucio. So Lucio was played a lot in the Overwatch League playoffs at a top tier level by some of the top players in the world. And the reason for that is because of his mobility and movement, right? I think Lucio is probably one of the hardest supports to master just because of his ability to move around the map. How he's able to wall climb, and that is a skill of his own. I don't even know 100% yet. I still have to work on myself, and I should probably actually do a guide on Lucio just based on movement and mobility, right? Now when it comes to Lucio's heals, they are decent, right? They are decent, but they're not the best, right? Like if you're gonna die and you want a really good heal to just come out of nowhere, Lucio probably isn't your best bet. However, his sound barrier, his beatdown, right? His skills, his boops, I think his whole kit put together is what puts him all the way to the top. And his ability, right, to help you dive the enemy backline as a support is huge, right? And Lucio, believe it or not, can actually dish out quite a bit of damage, and a lot of people do miss this and they don't pay attention to this and end up getting killed by Lucio. Now, can Lucio actually dish out enough damage to kill a DPS from full HP in a 1v1? Probably not, unless that DPS is complete trash, right, which does happen. However, Lucio can definitely buy time, stall on the payload, and he can definitely help you get from the front lines all the way to the back lines if you are a dive comp. And I do believe I did a guide on a dive comp previously, so definitely do check that one out. That's what the meta is moving towards. That's what the Overwatch League players are using in terms of a Winston, Kiriko, etc. So for that reason, Lucio does get, in terms of survivability, a 4 out of 5 star, right? Once again, he isn't able to heal himself that well. If you do catch him off guard, he can definitely die very easily. His damage output, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. He can dish out a lot of damage, but he also should probably not be using his boops as damage because they are mostly for mobility, and you definitely don't want to be going for the kill. And last but not least, his support capability / healing, I will definitely give that one a 2 out of 5, right? So Lucio definitely is able to heal, but is he able to heal, like, for example, as good as a Mercy in terms of a pocket? Not so much. Once again, his sound barrier, right, his beatdown, his ult does give you extra HP, gives you move speed, allows you to rush in. But in terms of just general, right, pace of the game healing. He does struggle quite a bit. A lot of people will probably disagree with me here, and I'd love to hear why you guys disagree on this point. I don't see Lucio as a good pace of the game healer throughout the pace of the game, but he definitely does have an insane ult that makes up for almost all of it. Next up, we have Myra, right? Myra is a very interesting hero because she has an insanely low skill ceiling, meaning it does not take much for an Overwatch player to extract out of her, right? What that means is that, for example, if you were to pick up the game today, right, have no knowledge of Overwatch, and you're basically told to use this skill and that skill and play Myra, probably 5 games in, you're going to be doing pretty well, okay? Now, the problem with that is as you continue playing and continue playing, you won't improve as much as, for example, if you were to master a Lucio or a Mercy, right? Or even an Ana, just because that skill ceiling is not very high, right? Which is why you'll see all the low ranks dominated by Myra, and then as you go up, you'll see more Lucio and Mercies and Anas and Zenyatta, etc. just because of that skill gap. Now, when it comes to the actual skills from Myra, her damage output is ridiculous, okay? Like, it's not even funny. Like, at some point, she's probably even better than the DPS himself, which is why she's in this very weird spot where rating her is very difficult, right? For example, she has a lot of healing capability, right? But due to her ability to actually dish out a lot of damage, respectfully, lower ranks people would do is that they wouldn't be focusing on the healing and they'll turn into a DPS Myra, which is a big issue, especially nowadays in the meta, right? So she definitely does have high healing and support capability. However, because of also her damage capability, she is in this weird space where an unexperienced player would be focusing on damage just because that's what they're used to coming from other games, is just doing damage and killing people, is that they wouldn't really be using her very good healing skills, right? So that's something you definitely want to keep an eye out for. And let's get into the rating here, right? So once again, we're going to be starting off with damage for Myra. Very easy here. She is going to get a 5 out of 5, right? If there's a 6 out of 5, she'll probably get it as well, right? So next up, her survivability. You guys are going to be pretty impressed by this one. Also a 5 out of 5, right? Now, I'm not being biased just because I do main Myra, but her ability to dash out of danger is something almost no other support has, right? Now, once again, it does have a pretty annoying cooldown that you have to keep an eye out for, but it allows you to actually dash forward and gain more move speed. So if you're trying to catch someone, right, because once again, Myra can dish out damage and you can definitely kill someone, especially with the damage orb or the lifesteal of her right click, you definitely want to be paying attention to that, right? So you can dash forward into danger to kill someone and finish them off, or dash out of danger. So she has those two-way movement abilities, right? So next up, that's going to be easily a 5 out of 5 on survivability, 5 out of 5 on damage, and last but not least, her support and healing. We'll give it a 4 out of 5, just because if I give it a 5 out of 5, I'm gonna get a lot of annoying comments, right? So we're just gonna keep it a 4 out of 5, just so she's not like fully, bulletproof, and it's just 5 out of 5 on all the stats. Moving on to Kiriko. Now, Kiriko is probably at the current meta a top tier hero as a support. Her carry potential is through the roof, right? If you have a Kiriko on your team that knows what they're doing, it's already GG, right? So let's go ahead and just go over ult as a starter, because I think that's her most powerful weapon. So her ult is insane. You combo that with literally anything in existence as a DPS, as a tank, or whatever, and it's pretty much GG, right? So all you need is a Kiriko that knows what they're doing. Combo that with, for example, a soldier's visor. Do you know how much damage that does? Like do I even have to explain that? It's actually insane. It's insane, right? Allows you to dive in, and once again, I talked about this in my previous videos as well, in terms of the dive comp, how you want to rush the back line of the enemy team, throw them off, attack the supports, knock out the DPS, and then move on to the tanks instead of just poking at the tank until they can get you over. So definitely her ult puts her at the top of the list, right? And once again, her Suzu, right, gives you that invulnerability, so you can't even take damage. That's very good. Once again, good against Zarya, perfect counter. Any hero that has insane ult or CC potential, Kiriko is a perfect counter, right? So her whole kit is very strong. And then when it comes to her healing, once again, it's pretty decent. Obviously not the best healing in the game, but just due to how her kit overall is so powerful, her healing doesn't even matter. She doesn't even need to heal, right? Like it's that crazy good. So once again, we're just going to give her a quick rating because she is absolutely insane at almost everything she does, right? So her damage potential, this is going to be throwing a lot of people off. It's going to be a 4 out of 5, right? And you might ask yourself, why is it so high? I don't know if you guys know this, but due to a recent update and change, her shuriken headshot does 3 times damage. So you can one-shot a lot of DPS and throw them absolutely off their game if they're not paying attention. Now, can she dish out consistent damage? The quick answer to that is absolutely not, right? So Kiriko is more for like you heal, you see an opportunity, you throw a few shurikens. If it hits a headshot, if it does, if it doesn't, not the end of the story, right? So, or the end of the day. So definitely keep a lookout on that damage output. It's not the best, but once again, it's pretty good. Her survivability is definitely a 5 out of 5. If she's in danger, she can dash out. And once again, if you stick a nade onto her, for example, if you are a Cassidy, right, she can dash out of that and it doesn't even do damage. Like, I don't know if you guys knew that, right? So it's it's quite powerful. I have yet to test it with Grav. I don't know if you can teleport out of Grav. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you can, but at that point your whole team is already in, so it doesn't really matter. And then last but not least, her support and healing is, I'm gonna give definitely a 3 out of 5. Not the best in the game, but once again, doesn't really matter. It's still very, very powerful. And yeah, definitely puts her up there in terms of support heroes. Next up, we have Ana. And pretty much at this point, you have seen kind of what top tier meta supports are. And now we're moving on to the, I'm playing this support just for the fun of it, because honestly, the next 4 supports are pretty decent, but the other 4 are a lot better, especially if you want to stick with the meta. So these are more off meta. So the thing about Ana is that she is a very awkward healer in my opinion, right? Now let's start off with just how her whole kit works. So she heals with a sniper. Doesn't really make much sense to me, honestly, but you guys can beg to differ, right? So her main healing ability is to basically shoot the enemy to do damage, but then also shoot your teammate to heal. Now I'm gonna be completely honest, I never played Ana, so this is gonna be coming just off the top of my head of what I know and how my teammates play and some of my friends main Anas. Ana does have obviously nano that does boost the damage of a teammate. For example, a very well-known combo is nano blade, right? For example, that's a Genji goes in, uses his blade. Before that, you would go ahead nano him, so he does insane damage and pretty much one-shots everyone. Ana can also dish out long range heals, and I think that's what makes her kit special, right? For example, you're at your spawn and you see your teammates very far away, sort of in the mid of the map, requiring immediate heals, and they're taking damage. You can definitely dish out quick heals from a distance. And she most importantly can put enemies to sleep. So that's kind of like the biggest thing, right? Now, when do you want to put people to sleep? Well, when they're using their ult, obviously, right? So you want to kind of be smart with it here, right? Because it does have an insanely long cooldown, so you want to be careful. And you'll see top tier teams, what they'll do is they'll bait out that sleep, because if an Ana does still have sleep ready, right, that can be very powerful. So for example, think about it this way. Another team's Ana nanos the Genji. The Genji uses his nano blade, goes in after your team, and you sleep him. It's over. That's it. Like, you know, it's whatever he had for him is gone, right? So she can definitely shut down a lot of important ults, and I think that's kind of what puts her in the playing field. Had she not had sleep, she would probably be like the bottom of the list, right? Because I don't think she has insane damage output. I don't think she has insane healing abilities. And overall, her kit is a bit awkward compared with how the meta is moving nowadays with dive, and Ana's very stationary. She doesn't have insane mobility. So for survivability, we're going to be giving Ana definitely a 2 out of 5. She can obviously sleep the person diving her, but she can't dash out of danger, right? And you kind of want mobility, especially in this dive heavy comp meta nowadays that we're having in Overwatch 2. For healing and support, we'll give it a 3 out of 5. Kind of mid-range, nothing too crazy. And then her damage output will get a 2 out of 5. So once again, she can't dish out damage of significance, but she can definitely put people to sleep. So that's where she gets the 2 points from. And that's pretty much going to wrap up everything for Ana. Once again, a very awkward, in my opinion, healer. You definitely won't see her in the top tier ranks. You'll see mostly Kiriko, Lucio, Moira, and Mercy. And yeah, definitely do let me know if you guys do main Ana. I would love to know why for that reason. Next up, we have Zenyatta. Now, Zenyatta as a support right now in the Overwatch 2 meta is in a very interesting spot, right? So at first, no one really cared about Zenyatta as much. Now, certain streamers went in, did us the favor of playing Zenyatta and showing us how Zenyatta should be played. And then we started to notice, like, okay, there's something to this hero we actually didn't know. So the thing about Zenyatta is that he can definitely dish out a lot more damage than people give him credit for, right? He can definitely snipe people in the head and dish out damage and pretty much catch them off guard without them noticing. Trust me, I've gotten one shot by Zenyatta multiple times and it's not fun. So you definitely do want to keep a lookout on Zenyatta's skills here, because he can definitely dish out a lot of damage. Now when it comes to the skills in terms of the actual healing, he gets a definite 0 to 1 out of 5 star. You'll hear a lot of Zenyatta mains say, sorry, I do have my orb on you, that's the best I can do. Zenyatta can't dish out almost any healing. So when it comes to actual pace of the game healing that I mentioned earlier in the video, he gets definitely a 1 out of 5 stars. He can't heal. Let's just be honest, right? However, his ult is insane, okay? I think, once again, just like with Ana's sleep dart, right? Zenyatta's ult is kind of what puts him in the playing field. That's kind of what puts him in the game, in a sense, right? So, whenever you get, for example, grabbed by Zarya there, or whenever you get shut down or CC'd hard by the other team, if a Zenyatta is able to pop that ult and punish those ults, he can shut down pretty much all the ults of the enemy team. So, having a Zenyatta on your team can definitely be a jailbreak free card, and you can definitely get out of a lot of sticky situations. So it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. And in terms of just general rating here, so we're going to give his healing and supports a 1 out of 5, as I mentioned earlier, because he can't really heal that well. His damage output, we'll give it a 4 out of 5. Very good. Once again, not as crazy as Myra, but very good. And if you can't land it, you can catch definitely a lot of people off guard, and they're going to be pretty mad in the chat. And then last but not least, his survivability, we'll give it a definite 3 out of 5. I think it's pretty decent. Nothing crazy, but he can definitely get around the map and get out of sticky situations pretty easily. Alright, next up we have Baptiste. Now when it comes to Baptiste, I definitely think he is up there with Kiriko, Mercy, and Lucio, right? The reason being is due to his movement. He is one of the very few supports that we have currently in the meta, not just in the game. He's actually definitely in the meta, believe it or not, that's able to get out of danger pretty quickly and shock a lot of DPS that don't know how his movement actually works, right? So he can, once again, dish out damage, move out of position if he's in danger, if the current position he's in is in danger, and he can heal pretty well easily, right? The reason I say easily is because all you have to do is land those projectile type bombs, right, or nades. So shoot it pretty much at the ground right next to them, and you can definitely heal your teammates pretty easily. I wouldn't say it's super easy to heal your teammates with Baptiste, but it definitely requires a little bit of aim and skill. So definitely do practice that before you jump into a game and start healing and embarrass yourself. But in general, Baptiste is a well-rounded hero in my opinion, right? Very well-rounded, very good kit. Not a support that is broken like Kiriko or Myra, but a support that's well-balanced, has a decent kit, and something that can be respected, right? Now, would I play Baptiste if I'm in the Overwatch League finals? Probably not, right? But would I play if I'm just chilling with the boys on a Saturday night? Most definitely, right? So that's something you definitely have to take into account. Now, last but not least, we have Brigette, right? Now, I actually didn't even know this hero existed, and no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Relax, okay? But I did actually have to look up how this hero is spelled, because let's be honest, no one really plays this hero. I think the only time I've seen people play this hero is when they're already losing the game, and they're like, you know what? Like, I don't really play other heroes. Let me just see how they're played. That's honestly what Brigette is in. I think she's in the same weird space as Doomfist when it comes to tanks, so I am thinking of doing a tank guide similar to this one in the future, but we'll see when that comes around. But in general, Brigette is in that weird space where she's good, but like it's just such a weird kit she has, and people haven't really figured out how to play her very well, so they just kind of stay away from her, right? So I definitely do want to see her up in the leagues up there, right? Played with the top tier players, or even just in regular streams. No one really plays her, so I definitely do think she has a few tricks up her sleeve, especially with the way she can just slap people around. And she can definitely get a few nice plays off, but in general, just going over how she's played, right? So she heals based on slaps, right? So she slaps her teammates, she heals them. She slaps the enemy team and she damages them, right? Similar to Ana, but instead of a sniper, she has a slap machine, right? So once again, a very interesting kit. I don't know why Overwatch thought this was a good idea, but in general, let's just give her 3 out of 5 across the board, right? Just because I honestly don't even know where she is, right? Like when it comes to survivability, I haven't even played against Brigettes to really know. So like, if you guys do main Brigette, first of all, congrats to you. I don't know what you're doing with your life, but that's just up to you, right? So in general, I think she's in a very weird spot. I definitely do want to see her upped, maybe buffed a bit, just so we can see her more played, especially in ranked. Maybe you'll see her in open queue, but like, you know, that's not ranked. That's a different story there. But in general, right, survivability, healing and support, and damage, let's just give it all a 3 out of 5. Maybe damage 4 out of 5 just for that slap factor in general. But in general, a very interesting hero. Not played much by anyone, but just ended up making it into this list because we got to talk about all the supports in general. So we're going to give her a 3 out of 5 across the board. And yeah, that's going to pretty much wrap up the support guide in terms of rating for every support hero. Once again, do let me know if you guys agree or not. Which support you guys main, which one is your favorite, which one I got wrong, because I'd definitely love to know. And if you guys enjoyed this one, as always, make sure you guys do subscribe, as I've been dishing out daily content for Overwatch, guys, and I've loved to read you guys' comments. And thank you to all the recent support and love we've gotten on the channel. It is honestly means a lot to me to know that I'm able to make it in the Overwatch community. So definitely stick around, as the content is only going to get better and better throughout the days. So once again, I hope to see you guys around. Have a great one and enjoy Overwatch.